Throughout history, there have been many wars that have caused destruction and killing a large number of people. In fact, war has no result except destruction and genocide. But today, several decades after the end of World War II, conditions have prevailed in the world in terms of political rivalries and disputes, which have greatly increased the risk of war. In fact, the scary thing about this issue is that this war can be a nuclear war and the end of the world. Regarding nuclear weapons, we must say that the invention of these weapons has long roots in the history of physics and chemistry. The first attempts to build an atomic bomb began in Nazi Germany. During this time, a chemist named Pavel Hartek, a professor at the University of Hamburg, realized the potential power of atomic power for military applications. On February 24, 1939, he informed the Ministry of War in Berlin about the possibility of using nuclear energy as a weapon with unlimited destructive power. Following this, a group was formed for research in this regard, and Werner Heisenberg, a prominent German physicist, became unofficially the head of the German research team to build a nuclear bomb. According to the memoirs of Otto Skorzeny, around 1943, Nazi Germany achieved the atomic bomb, but never got the chance to use it. At the same time, Albert Einstein, in his famous letter to Franklin Roosevelt, the President of the United States at the time, warned of the danger of Germany achieving the production of an atomic bomb. Following this warning, Roosevelt ordered the creation of the Manhattan Project for the purpose of research in this regard and the production of an atomic bomb with the cooperation of Britain and France. For this project, facilities were used in Los Alamos, New Mexico, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Humford, Washington, and a team of the most prominent scientists of the time were employed for this project. The American team led by the prominent physicist Robert Oppenheimer succeeded in making the first nuclear bomb, which was tested on July 16, 1945 in an area called Trinity in New Mexico. Shortly after, on August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay bomber of the 509th Squadron of the U.S. Air Force took off from a base in the South Pacific Ocean and at 8:15 local time, exploded the bomb known as Little Boy over Hiroshima, Japan. Built and thus registered the name of the United States of America as the first country to use atomic weapons in the history of mankind. This bomb, which was designed with 64 kilograms of uranium, was released from a height of 9,600 meters and exploded at a height of 580 meters above the ground with an intensity equal to the explosion of 15,000 tons of TNT. The total initial casualties and those killed due to the effects of this explosion are estimated at 14,000 people. 3 days later, on August 9, the explosion of the Fat Man bomb in the Japanese city of Nagasaki killed another 74,000 people. This bomb, which used plutonium as a fissile material, created an explosion with the intensity of 21,000 tons of TNT. Another bomb was produced in the Manhattan Project that was never used. The use of nuclear weapons in the Second World War seriously showed the deadly and threatening effects of the human race. This caused a number of countries in the world to sign the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or the NPT, in January 1967. This agreement divides the countries of the world into two groups, privileged and non-privileged. Based on this, the countries of the United States, Russia, China, Britain, and France, which had acquired nuclear weapons before this treaty, were introduced as countries with the right to have nuclear weapons. So far, 189 countries have joined the treaty by signing it. India, Pakistan, South Sudan, and Israel have not accepted this agreement. North Korea also withdrew from this agreement not long ago. According to this treaty, the countries with nuclear weapons should not directly or indirectly help the countries that do not have these weapons, and the countries that do not have nuclear weapons are committed not to try in this way, although according to this treaty, the countries that have nuclear weapons have committed that the nuclear technology of peace to make available to the non-privileged. But let's look at the current political situation in the world. In fact, at the present time, the political and economic competition, especially between the countries of the East and the West, has entered a new stage. Since 1978, when China started its economic development program, it reached the point where in 2017 it was able to obtain the first rank in terms of GDP based on purchasing power parity among all countries in the world. This has caused the competition between China on the one hand and the Western world, including the United States and the European Union on the other hand, to enter a critical phase. At the same time, with China's claim of ownership over Taiwan, the possibility and probability of China's military intervention in this region has also increased. Countries like Taiwan and Singapore have enjoyed the political and economic support of the United States for many years, and if China dominates Taiwan, one of America's most important economic arteries in East Asia will be cut off. We see the opposite of this issue in the same region in the case of Hong Kong. The efforts that are being made by the West to cut the political and economic connection between Hong Kong and China and join Hong Kong to the Western economic world. In the meantime, we should not ignore the progress and economic development of the most populous country in the world, India. With an average economic growth of about 8% in recent years, India has reached the stage of economic prosperity. Considering the population of this country and the high level of production and exports of this country, it must be said that it is considered a serious competitor for the Western world. India has the fourth most powerful army in the world and, as mentioned, is one of the countries with nuclear weapons that has not signed the NPT treaty. But about Eastern Europe. In this region, whose basic crisis started with Russia's attack on the Crimea Peninsula and its domination and continued with the attack on Ukraine in 2022, it must be said that the economic and political situation of the whole of Europe has put it in a state of semi-war. We have seen many times the threat of Russia from Europe that it will use nuclear weapons in case of direct military intervention, while Russia has the most nuclear warheads in the world. Of course, the war between Russia and Ukraine has entered a balanced and settled state for some time, but the economic pressures caused by this war, as well as the wave of migration from Eastern Europe and the Middle East to Western Europe, have created bad economic conditions for the whole of Europe. In fact, Europe is currently facing two problems: the war between Russia and Ukraine, as well as economic competition with Eastern countries such as China and India. But in the third region, Middle East, where the tension between Israel and Palestine and Arab countries has been going on for years. Tensions that have led to military operations in some cases. These tensions became very intense in October 2023, following the night attack of the Hamas group on Israel, and following Israel's countermeasures in the attack on Gaza. This is despite the fact that the attacks so far have led to the deaths of many civilians in the Gaza region and their counterparts in Israel. Destruction of many areas of Gaza, and in fact the occurrence of a full-scale war. The important point here is that following this war, a wave of support from the people of Muslim countries has been created for the people of Palestine and Gaza, and along with this support, the people of these countries have started boycotting many manufactured goods that belong to Jewish or Israeli companies. An action that has caused financial losses for these companies to the extent that some of their branches or agencies in the Middle East countries have been closed or their number has decreased. This term is very common in the world of politics, that economic and political competition is a prelude to wars. Now, with the things we mentioned and the conditions we explained from three important regions in the world, we can conclude that we are close to the danger of starting a war. A war that, if spread anywhere, can spread to other parts of the world or even become a nuclear war. What will happen in a nuclear war? The scary thing is that the destructive power of current nuclear weapons is 7 to 70 times more than the nuclear bombs used in World War II. Yes, a very scary number. The destructive power that can kill millions of people in just a few seconds and completely destroy several large cities. Let us explain that the detonation zone of nuclear bombs is divided into 5 parts. Evaporation zone. Area of total destruction. Area of severe heat damage. Area of severe blast damage. Area of severe wind and fire damage. In the evaporation zone, a temperature equivalent to 300 million degrees Celsius is created, and everything, from metal to humans and animals, does not catch fire at this temperature, but vaporizes. The harmful effects of this explosion are even up to a radius of 50 kilometers, and its blast wave, which carries a lot of energy, can disable millions of dollars of advanced electronic equipment such as satellites or telecommunication systems. These are all visible and immediate effects of nuclear bombs. After the explosion, the harmful radioactive rays prevent the survival of living organisms in the places close to the explosion for many years. Now, with the destructive power that we have mentioned and also the explosive characteristics of this type of weapon, we can calculate what kind of disaster can await the human race. Human knowledge and in fact human consciousness have advanced a lot in the current time. In fact, the common sense is that we should all be aware that we are human beings and that the path to health and happiness passes through security and peace. We should hope that with the help of this knowledge and intelligence, instead of war and conflict, our world will move towards a just agreement, peace and tranquility, and everyone will benefit from this advantage forever. If you like this video, like it and share it with your friends to support us. Also, subscribe to our channel to see our future videos. Thank you for being with us and supporting us.